Don't mind me. I'm just trying to get this whole thing to work so that we can watch this all together. Let's see. Yep, that's what we're after. Yeah, so while I'm waiting for my floors to dry, because I've just got them mopped, I'm just going to be bunkered down here in this room. And some of the things I'm going through a little bit this morning is that my vision is not the best. So when I go to read these articles and we're going through these different stories together, I greatly apologize if I can't see all the best. But you are catching this live, and that's what I aim to do. And we're going to get into some fun stories right away. And one of these is talking about UFOs, which I think is really cool. UFO subjects. I mean, this seems to be the hot topic when it comes to MSN news. It's like they're always saying something about a UFO, aliens, do. And it's like, I'm not trying to make small of anyone who's been going through anything similar to that situation or going through anything that's dealing with aliens. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody wants. Somebody might have went through an experience that is very disturbing to them. Okay, I'm not going to take that from them. Who am I to comment on an experience I've never had about someone else having it? That's just. I don't think that's right. So all I can say is that, dang, heart goes out to you. I believe that maybe you believe that it's very real. Could have been very real. I have nothing to go off of it. I do that with other topics. The one thing that I think is more penetrating for my belief system, even though I have no firsthand experience, is when I speak to people that are from different countries that have had nothing but bombs dropped around them all their lives. And they have families. Man, when they tell their stories, it's compelling. Oh my gosh. Like I had this Uber driver one time. He started sharing with me about his family, how he barely made it into America around, I think, 2011 or 2012. And he's been making it for that whole amount of time here. Still had, I think, a wife, not a wife, but maybe mother and father still in the country. But, I mean, his story was epic. And I only had it for like 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes worth of his story was shell shocking enough for me. And if he was just BSing me to get some extra money out of me, so be it. He got me. I mean, like, I'll hook, line, and sinker. Here you go, man. I mean, but his stories were so tragic that, he would say he'd have a friends that go out, they have to go out of the house to go do something and maybe, just deliver a message or get some groceries. And they go out, they wouldn't come back. They get blown up. And you got to think, it said it was risky and dangerous and stressful like that every day. People take it for granted living in this country that they can just walk out and breathe fresh air and talk to somebody else. This is paradise compared to where some people are living. And I'm talking about even in your worst of worst circumstances, where you still may be in the ghetto, but picking your right time in the ghetto, you have a better time than picking any time over in another country. And so this guy was just sharing with me how his family, how he got them here. He barely made it out. It was just, I don't know. I mean, it was just a very big story. But anyways, we're not going to talk too much about that. Let's jump right on into this. Boo, 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 boo. Yeah, so let's see what's going on in the news report today. We've got 60 eerie declassified UFO photos from the 60s and 70s. Now, I do know a little bit. I've been following this individual called Darius J. Wright. And Darius J. Wright is this OBE guy. So if you ever look up his stuff, it's pretty interesting. But he does out-of-body experiences where he leaves his body and goes and really explores the astral planes. And when you say, oh, well, that's just fake woo-woo, ha-ha. Well, it's consistent. Let's just say it like he's one of the few true OBE persons. I think there's another one named Thomas. I can't remember what the other guy's name, but I came across his stuff one other time. Tom Sawyer or Thomas Sawyer, and it sounds like a news anchor maybe. But I watched his information, and he says some things that I agree with, but I don't agree with all of them. Like there's like these people that come back, they're still human, even if their testimonies are very, let's say they're 80% authentic, 90% authentic. There's still a shred of human error in some of the conveyance, and so it's I would take it. I wouldn't say take it with a grain of salt, but you also got to understand that it's subject to human error. It's subject to being incorrect in some spots, fallacy. So with all things, this is the case, maybe. Now let's see what we got here on this one. So I like to follow these. They kind of give me an idea of what the article is that we're going to be reading, what that's going to be like. And oh gosh, is there a way for me to even track to see who's viewing this? How many people know? I can't see the live chat, so I'm not even going to think about it. So if you, actually, I can see the chat. So if people start chatting in here, great. I'll start it off by saying hello. And we're going to get right into it. So, 60 eerie declassified UFO photos from the 60s and 70s. All right. The solar wave. And again, forgive me, my vision is not the greatest. The solar wave Firth spaceman. In October of 1973, Cincinnati, Ohio came under investigation from a glowing object that no one could explain. That evening, a circular white flying craft emitting a yellow glow was seen flying about the trees near Mount Washington, frightening everyone in the surrounding neighborhoods. During the sighting, police reported a large-scale equipment and communication failures, and even Governor John J. Gilligan claims that he was caught in a vertical beam of light. Jeez. Woo! Fortunately for everyone involved, he wasn't abducted by whomever or whatever was on the ship. So here's a picture of a little girl. Looks to be kind of in this classic framework of when this happened. It was the 70s. And yeah, I bet you it could be again AI. Could be AI. If any of you know, I follow AI quite a bit, so it's very interesting to see that right there. Moving on to the next one. In 1973, a UFO threatened to abduct the governor of Ohio. There it is, that little spooky thing in the background. All these photos, people, I know it sounds seems very interesting and stuff like that, but let me go ahead and just tell you that if you believe you can trust one thing and not trust another thing, then you should probably not trust anything that you're thinking. I hate to say it that way, but I want you to get a kind of an idea on why I'm saying it like that. Everything can be faked. It was already being faked probably a good, I would say 10, 15 years ago. But definitely more recently now, it's in the grand landscape of everything. It's more mainstream that people can easily doctor photos. It's in the hands of the consumer. So if it's in the hands of us, the lay people, to be able to craft a convincing photo that somebody would believe is otherwise true, but is false, then guess what? The experts can definitely fool you. If anything, I would take this information as just entertainment until we know further otherwise. But you can also play with your belief system, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, sometimes it's really like, even if I present this information and you know it not to necessarily be true, your subconscious is not going to be able to refute it. So, case B, watch everything with warning. But I will say, I wanted to mention some of the things that the OBE stuff was about with Darius Wright. I kind of lost track on not saying something about him. So he explains how there was all of these abductions or these experiments and people being, taken away during certain periods. And he explains how the Greys and other different types of alien races are just, they have a curiosity effect when it comes to examining us. For whatever their reasons being, they just it's pure science. They do it on us. and this is according to what Darius is saying, of course. He said that one of the things, like, I'm trying to remember specifically how this would more or less relate and give people some kind of closure or understanding. There's when you move over into the outer body experience, and I've had an astral projection, so I'm already familiar, like, that exists, and it's like everything he described is exactly what I went through, word for word, pretty much. And he gave me more of the nuancy stuff that I didn't get a chance to explore because I got slammed back into my body. But the thing that he was saying is that the worlds sit on top of one another. I've always said the worlds sit on top of one another. So, as above, so below, kind of these principles, you have these extraterrestrials or other beings or life forms, spirit forms, that are just busy observing. Heck, they might even be watching me right now as I'm making this video content. And they're busy sampling information, just observing and seeing the thought forms that happen in these people's minds. Because as I'm thinking, I'm creating a form of energy around me. We can't observe it because we have limited observations and sensory capabilities. But in these situations where you have things that are kind of manifested in this reality, these people are being observed by something that is both in and out of our existence. So it might be an alien that is, they could be phase shifting. They could be in and out, monitoring what's going on, taking people, looking at them for whatever reasons, and then getting out. So he definitely echoes a lot about different beings. Here's the thing I will say about my experience when I was out of my body. When I started thinking about, I felt other life forms. There's no question in my mind I felt other life forms. And whenever I felt these other life forms, I didn't know what to make of it. So, like, I knew, like, let's say it like this, when I say other life forms, I felt the presence of other energy. And I knew there was good energy, what you would call good. I knew there was bad, dark energy. But again, it's really what I'm manifesting in my sensory awareness. So it's more or less you tap into kind of your intention, if I could explain it any better. So if my intention was, I want to see it, and I'm feeling this feeling. It's an intent and feeling at the same time. Energy flows where intention goes. So my intention was examining, is there any dark energy? Yeah, feel it. Okay, is there good energy? Yeah, I can feel it. I feel life forms. Yes, I feel it. The question was then, is there anything different from what a human is in this space? And it felt like, yeah, it's there too. All of it's there. And I didn't get a chance to get into it there, which is kind of odd, but that's just been my experience. I can't really comment to anything else. But let's get back into this. So in this little 1973, a UFO threatened to abduct the governor of Ohio. How did he threaten? And he didn't accomplish. Like, why would a UFO threaten? It's like, go through with the whole experiment. Co-workers Charles Hickinson and Calvin Parker claimed to have been abducted. Well, you either were or weren't. You can't be threatened to if you got abducted. You've been abducted while fishing near Pascagoula. I don't know. I've never heard of that place before. Pascagoula, Mississippi. There's also a Diamond Head, Mississippi, but I'm not going to get into all that. That's a strange place. In 1973, they were approached by an oval-shaped craft that was levitating about 2 feet off the ground, making a whirling sound. The friends claimed that the three creatures emerged from the ship, then brought them into it, where they were immobilized by the odd-looking entities. Both of the men lost complete track of time while in the craft. But after a hypnotic regression session, Hickson recalled spending about 20 minutes in the craft before he and Parker were brought back to the river's edge. So, hypnosis, how much credence do we give to that? Did it happen? Did it not happen? Who knows? I want to echo these pieces right here. This gives us kind of I wouldn't say credibility check, but at least ways an interest check. So we got over, let's say 70. So it's over 0.5% of the people liked this video. 79 didn't. So it's not that much more, right? Probably 57%. And then 9 here made some comments. I'm curious to see what the comments are here in a second. All right, let's move on to the next one. What the heck is this? As the aliens approached, the two men froze. If you're in a vehicle on the ground and you see a UFO cruising across the sky, it's unlikely that you will actually catch it unless it lands or crashes. That fact didn't stop the two Portage County police officers from giving chase to a UFO on the morning of April 17th, 1966. A lot of these things took place long ago. People couldn't explain it. And guess what? There were not a lot of cameras in the public, so it didn't like somebody could just film it and there it is. We just hope that these photos are just, we just believe the photos too. We don't know if they're real. When the officers saw a metallic disc-shaped object in the sky, they engaged in hot pursuit the craft, only to find themselves in Pennsylvania about 30 minutes later, even though the craft left them in the dust. Their story was backed up by a series of other officers and civilians who also gave chase. Yeah, I can see somebody getting crazy and saying, man, come on, let's go check it out. Look, I'll give you a story about my mother that went through a UFO experience. Again, UFO does not mean extraterrestrial. I hate people saying that like, oh, aliens exist because there's a UFO. No, I don't go with that logic. It's a UFO, unidentified flying object. Could be unidentified American flying object. I wish they would add that to the freaking equation. But it doesn't mean it equates to extraterrestrial. However, my mother was driving around one night, and she was closer to like an airport facility. It's probably when this is probably 1970s or late 60s. And when she was driving, she noticed this ball of light in the sky. And she was like, she was with her girlfriend at the time. And she was like, I don't know what the hell that is. Well, the ball of light came down to meet her parallel on the road she's driving. So now she's driving straight to it. And she was like, oh, so she slams on brakes and she turns the vehicle around to take off. And when she does, she notices this bad boy coming at her, right? She goes, I don't know what that thing is, but we're getting ready to find out what this car is going to do tonight. And she just, like, this is the story she tells me. It's very epic. So she's like, what? She had like a race car at the time. So she takes off flying and she's like, that thing just came right up on her. And then it's like, whew, went around her and went off into the sky. So that was her experience. She didn't neglect to say it was BS. It was every bit of truth to her. And so, again, take all these stories with a grain of salt, but damn, like, at what length are people lying to us? Just because it seems bizarre and abstract doesn't mean it's a lie. We can believe people are getting blown up in another country, but we can't believe that there's other weird, like just straight up weird shit happening. Maybe this is real. That's all I'm going to say. UFOs don't care if the cops chase them. Obviously. They had up more than that on the last one. Who are the Plagarians or Plarians? I don't know. And what do they want from Billy Meyer? So everybody's got all these different names for these aliens. The Pleiadians, something else, the Greys, the Darks, the Dark Greys, like all kinds of stuff. Billy Meyer is a so he's automatically questionable. Strange figure in the world of ufology. Throughout his life, Mayer claims to have spotted a series of unidentified crafts while also coming into contact with the entities who pilot the ships. Okay. See what else he's got to say. In the 60s and 70s, Meyer presented a series of photos, metal samples, and sound recordings to back up his claims that he was in regular contact with an alien race known as the Plagarians. Mayer's photos were very clear, showing large metal discs and otherworldly craft floating about the Swiss countryside. Truly remarkable images, but are they authentic? See, the fact that they put that there means that they're just playing an entertainment game. And to what extent are we going to end up believing whatever it is that we're experiencing when we're faced with it straight on? I don't know. Why do aliens keep visiting Billy Mayer? You tell me. In 65 of March, locals of Kew, England witnessed one of the most fascinating phenomenons in UFO lore. The Black Triangles, according to the Ministry of Defense. A group of witnesses saw 9 or 10 triangular objects hovering near Richmond, North Yorkshire, England, at about 9:30 p.m. The ships gave off an orange glow and exited a humming sound. Exiting a humming sound. That's interesting, okay. One witness reports that when the triangles came in close proximity to his car, the car sputtered and died. Ooh. Every witness says that the crafts hovered for a few minutes before taking off vertically, unlike any plane they'd ever seen. Many witnesses later manifested strange red marks across their bodies. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And this is time for Halloween, so maybe this is going to be interesting to some folks. Great. And what were those hovering black triangles? In 1976 of August, Maine's Allagash Wilderness Waterway became an inadvertent UFO hotspot when 4 college students spotted an alien craft streaking across the sky after reporting the ship to a park ranger. The students continued on their way. Years later, one of the students began having violent seizures, along with the memories of being loaded onto the craft before receiving a medical examination. It's unclear how long the friends were aboard the ship, if indeed they ever were. But the sighting and long-delayed recollection is fascinating nonetheless. So, if anybody wants to find some peculiar, like, testimonial stuff, I mean, there's tons of stuff on YouTube, I'm sure. But if you can look into, like, the archives of, oh gosh, I never ever remember the name of this freaking Project Camelot. I always have a tough time remembering their name because I always want to put a lion with them because I think like part of their entertainment was a lion, but it's Project Camelot. Look up all of their interviews. When I was first starting off in the conspiracy world, these guys were like, you don't have very many how much content, like there's very little content that explored these areas. You're basically on the fringe of a lot of great exploration in the 07-08 time frame of looking at conspiracy stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of these videos are older than that, but I came into that flux around that time with conspiracy theory. So I would recommend Project Camelot. And if you got time, look up Jordan Maxwell. Those two, just alone, will send you on a rabbit chase of just tons of information. And nobody I hear nowadays talks about those two at all. It's very interesting. They leave those names out of the loop. So, yeah. Anyways, I think I'm going to stop here for today. I don't want to make it too long. It looks like my floors might be dry, and that's cool. That's cute for me to go back and play around. So if you guys enjoyed it, great. Tune in for the next video. I'll make sure to go over some content then. We'll look at some news articles, maybe watch some stuff on latest tech, because I love tech. And, well, you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. If that's what you choose to do. I'll see you on the next video.